me know if this works. I don't think so. I want to thank everybody for coming. I really appreciate it. One of the really nicely ironic things that I wanted to say, and I won't take up too much time because you're obviously here to see Chelsea, but in 2008, I had a chance this morning to pull up a press release from Hillary's senatorial office, which says, Clinton welcomes establishment of Children's Child Care Center for Rome employees and other parents in need of safe, affordable child care services. This was done in 2008, so I think it's more than appropriate to now have Chelsea come by and see what was created then and what the Little Learners on Campus Child Care Center has become. We owe a debt of gratitude to Hillary, and we certainly appreciate Chelsea coming. I think Gabriella has something to say.
Hello everybody, my name's Gabby. I'm actually the organizer for the Hillary Clinton campaign. I've been covering the Syracuse, Utica, Rome area. And I just wanted to share really quickly, why I've been working for her. I've been on the ground for her since October. I've been to many states. And I fight for her every day because I know that she's fighting for my family. I know that when I was in elementary school, my mother battled thyroid cancer. And obviously she beat it, which is very exciting, and I'm very proud of my mom. But the medications that come with having that removed have been very expensive, and so I'm so thankful for the work that Obama did to enact the Affordable Care Act. And I fight because I know that Hillary is going to continue that work so much more once she hits office. I know that I can count on the fact that she's going to continue to improve the program and make sure that families such as mine don't have to struggle as hard as we have. And so that's why I fight. I really do hope that each and every one of you can help us out. I think most importantly that each of you remember that tomorrow is a very big day. We need each and every one of you to go out and vote, please. If you need help finding out your polling location, you can visit HillaryClinton.com. You can ask me after, I can do what I can do. But please turn out and vote. The polls up here are going to open at noon tomorrow and they will close at 9 p.m. If you want to help us out, come up to me or one of my colleagues after and we can let you know how you can help us make calls. But we really want to make sure that we get, Secretary Clinton in office is important because she is going to help each and every one of us once she's there. And so without that, without further ado, I would love to introduce Chelsea Clinton.
For everything that you said, and even more everything that you're doing to fight for my mom here in Rome and throughout New York between now and 9 p.m. tomorrow when the polls close. Although I stood while Gabby and Ed were speaking, I'm not going to sit. And please know I'm sitting as I point to my belly because I'm just quite pregnant. And so I'm sitting because I hear my doctor's voice in my head saying, don't stand for too long. I'm so grateful for everything that Ed said. I want to thank Andrea and everyone here at Little Learners. I love seeing all this art on the wall. My daughter had her first effort in the arts a couple weeks ago where we had kind of blue crayons, and most of the blue crayon wound up on her. I think that's probably just going to be the reality as I see lots of heads nodding. For years to come, I'll be very proud when she can figure out how to kind of get a handprint on something. It means so much to me to be here for a couple of reasons. One, what you heard talked about already, my mom is so proud of the Little Learner Center, so grateful that this is here now in the community. She is so proud and grateful for all the work that she got to do as our senator, particularly here in Rome and throughout the community, to protect jobs, to create jobs, and to recognize how important taking care of our children and our families are to all of us. I think this is the most important presidential election of my lifetime. And I feel that way for two fundamental reasons. The first is a deeply personal one. This is the first presidential election that I'll be voting in as a mom. And I didn't know I could care any more about politics or who was running for or holding political office until my husband and I were blessed to welcome our daughter Charlotte into the world just over 18 months ago now. And as we look forward to welcoming her future little sister, little brother, whom I hope will arrive equally healthy and happy this summer. And I found I could care even more about politics. That surprised me because I already cared intensely about politics. I grew up spending a lot of time around campaigns. When my dad was running for governor of Arkansas, but also supporting whoever my parents were behind who was running for city manager of Little Rock, or to represent our community in the state legislature, or to represent us in the House or the Senate, and of course in presidential election years. But I found that becoming a parent, everything I cared about already, I just cared more intensely about. I cared more intensely about early childhood education. I cared a lot more intensely about gun control. I mean, things I didn't know that could feel any more personal do now. And so, as proud as I am that my mom's running, and I'm so grateful that she's running because I couldn't imagine a better grandmother or a better president for my children, my first identity now is as a mom. And so that's kind of what's continuing to drive me to just talk to as many people as possible about what's at stake in this election and why I so strongly support my mom. It's the second reason I think this is the most important presidential election of my lifetime, is because everything that I care most about I worry is at risk at this moment in time. So I just want to give a few examples of kind of why I harbor this concern in my heart, and then open it up to whatever questions or thoughts you may want to share. I'm going to pick up where Gabby left off, actually, and talk about healthcare. I remember in '93 and '94, my mom fought really hard for universal healthcare coverage, and her efforts then were not successful. For those of you that are my age or a little older, you may remember the Harry and Louise ads. For those of you that don't remember, although I see some of you smiling, Harry and Louise were an older couple sitting across their kitchen table talking about kind of what a disaster it would be if my mom's healthcare plan passed. It was full of kind of just dire predictions. They were going to lose their hospitals, they were going to lose their doctors, they were going to lose their medicines. And kind of reading between the lines, they thought they were going to die if my mom's healthcare plan passed. And many of those ads and much of the attacks that the pharmaceutical and the healthcare industry launched against my mom's healthcare plans were also against her personally. So I would have understood if she had said, oh, I'm just too tired to keep engaged in this, I need a break, maybe there'll be a more perfect day to have this battle in the future. But I don't think I've ever heard my mom say that she's tired. And of all the things people have accused her of, even recently, I don't think anyone's ever accused her of being a quitter. And she doesn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And so she spent 3 years creating the Children's Health Insurance Program, which today insures more than 8 million low-income American children, but since inception, 19 years ago, has covered more than 1 million children just here in New York State. So to me, that's what real progress looks like. When Gabby shared her experience, I was thinking about what we need to do to finish the work of the Affordable Care Act. And you heard one data point to why the Affordable Care Act matters to Gabby. And if anyone says to you that it hasn't made a difference, I hope you'll share her story. Or I hope you'll tell people just even this statistic, that in 2015 we had more women access prenatal health care services and more women deliver babies in safe environments, in hospitals and birthing centers with doctors, with midwives, than at any point in American history. So that's the impact of the Affordable Care Act. We're now at almost 91% health care coverage in our country. What President Obama has achieved with the Affordable Care Act is extraordinary. And yet, we know we have to get to 100% coverage, and we do have to lower the costs throughout the system. And in many ways, the answers to that go back to what my mom first fought for in '93 and '94. Capping premium costs, capping out-of-pocket expenses, but also finally empowering Medicare to negotiate with drug companies. Because that's not only good for people on Medicare. Economists estimate that the average Medicare recipient would see their annual drug costs go down somewhere between 60 to 80% if the government could negotiate with pharmaceutical companies. But it's also good for the rest of us who aren't on Medicare yet. I hope I'm going to live long enough to be on Medicare, so I like to think I'm one of the people that isn't on Medicare yet. because Medicare pricing is transparent. Anyone can go onto the government website today and see how much Medicare pays for anything. So because of that transparency, it would be hard for Medicare to charge Gabby's mom, or Gabby, even 3 times, much less 300 times what Medicare would be paying. So we do have work still to do, but we can't afford to start over. We can't afford to put the gains of the Affordable Care Act in jeopardy. And I think we also need a president who knows how to solve problems and doesn't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and doesn't let the pure be the enemy of the good. We have a Republican Congress right now. Even the most optimistic predictions, speaking as a Democrat, I try to always own my biases. I'm very biased towards my mom, if you haven't figured that out. I'm very biased towards President Obama. I'm also very biased towards my dad. I'm very biased towards the Democrats. And of course, my daughter is just the smartest person ever. But on a serious note, we have a Republican Congress, and that's not expected to change until maybe 2022, after the 2020 census and the next redistricting. We have to deal with the political realities as we find them and not as we wish they were. So it matters to me that my mom built the Children's Health Insurance Program with Republican support. It matters to me that she extended the VA system to include our National Guardsmen and women who serve our country overseas, so that when they come home, they and their families can be part of the VA system. She did that with Republican support. When she was our senator, she doubled federal funding for early Head Start programs. She did that with Republican support. That matters to me. It also matters to me that she knows how to stand her ground and how to protect our values. And I think this is a particularly important point in this election. I never thought that I would see in my lifetime the almost normalization of hate speech coming out of the Republican primary. The racism, the sexism, the homophobia, the anti-immigrant rhetoric, the Islamophobia, the anti-workers' rights rhetoric, the rhetoric against Americans with disabilities. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. And so I think it should matter when thinking about a president, kind of who can really make government work on behalf of our values when in office and when not in office. So just 2 examples kind of from opposite ends of my mom's public service career. When my mom was First Lady of Arkansas, she brought the first public early childhood education program to Arkansas. Something that's appropriate, I think, for us to talk about in Little Learners. A program called HIPPY. It's a pretty easy name to remember. And when she brought HIPPY to Arkansas, she ensured that it had Democratic and Republican support, but also that it had parent and teacher support, civil society support, religious leader support from different church communities, partly because she wanted to ensure that the program would actually be responsive to what families wanted for children who would be enrolled, but also so that it would be more likely to be sustained because it would have broad and deep support. 30 years later, unlike in the 1980s when Arkansas had my dad as governor and had a pretty democratic state legislature, Arkansas today has a very conservative Republican governor and a very conservative Republican state legislature. They've been cutting public programs. They've cut funding for higher education, they've cut funding for the arts, they've cut funding for many public programs, but they haven't cut funding for HIPPY. And I think one of the reasons they haven't cut funding for HIPPY is because of the broad and deep base support that my mom built for it from the beginning and then nurtured along the way. It matters that people know how to make change, but also how to protect that change. When my mom was Secretary of State, she created the first high-level position for someone to monitor on behalf of the US government how women and girls are treated around the world. And she expected all of our embassies to regularly report on how girls and women are being treated in the countries where they work. And she made it clear to foreign leaders that she met that how their countries treated girls and women was going to impact how the United States treated them. Now, Secretary Kerry has continued that. I think it's important in total candor that a man has continued to make it clear that how girls and women are treated is an American foreign policy priority. But it's also important because it'll be hard for someone to dismantle that in the future, to tell the thousands of foreign service officers who work on our behalf every day around the world that all of a sudden, no, we don't care about girls' education or women's rights any longer.